ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a different kind of World of Tanks video. Today I'm going to be starting a new series which incorporates looking at every single map in the game and giving basic and sort of advanced tactics for it. Starting off like where you should position, what to do, looking at where you should take different types of tanks, how you should react to different situations, so on and so forth, explaining the maps. And I'm going to be tiering the maps in terms of their balance or their balancing side of things, whether they're completely unbalanced for one team or just it's a decent map in general, whether it's balanced, or whether it is a good map to play. There's going to be two tiering systems, both for whether it's balanced and fair for both sides, or whether it's nice to play. So that'll be coming. I'm going to be doing this for each of the 40 maps. Today we're going to be looking at Abbey, Airfield, Berlin, Cliff, and El Halluf. And we're going to be working our way through all the way down to White Park in the coming videos. So let's start off with Abbey. General opinion of Abbey: it's a pretty one-dimensional map. You have three ways you can go about this. You've got one corridor around the 1-2 line over here. That's basically where the heavy tanks go to sort of fight it out. You've got the middle bit here where the light tanks, medium tanks, and occasionally some heavies go. And then you've got this road here, which is nothing much really goes there. You can get tank destroyers and light tanks maybe going here. Some heavies go down there, but it usually ends up being pretty impassable if there's heavily armoured tank destroyers or heavy tanks sitting back there. My opinion, it's an okay map. I feel like it's only really good for heavy tanks and medium tanks. Light tanks don't tend to do well in it, nor do tank destroyers, unless the enemy team sits in front of you the entire game. Arty can do quite well on this map as well, but it's Arty, we don't really like talking about it. So let's start off on the north side. Where would we stick the heavy tanks? Well, mainly you're going to be having heavy tanks around here and here. You can, if you've got a fast heavy tank, you can get it into there. Occasionally, some heavy tanks might like to fight it out around the middle, and even more rarely, heavy tanks will go and fight it along here. If you're looking at the 1-2 line, around this heavy tank here, there is a bunch of aesthetic destroyed M4 Shermans, which can provide some fantastic cooldown opportunities. This is equal for both sides. They are also around here, so heavy tanks will usually come here. The north side has a bit more opportunity for heavy tanks, I feel, than south side. So if you look here, these heavies you can split up. You can create sort of like a crossfire along here and to there. Heavy tanks can usually take up here on the south side, but nothing. There isn't really that much opportunity. As you can see, the angle of fire is a bit difficult and is relatively exposed, especially if the northern team takes this spot here. It can counter here quite easily. Allied south heavy tanks can take this position here, but that leaves it very exposed to anything that goes middle on the north side. So south side, you usually play around here and around this corner here. North side, as I said, usually just play around here. Can get some tanks into there, but again, these positions along here, they leave you quite exposed to enemy fire from the middle. Playing south side heavy tanks, it may even be worth bringing tanks up here. That keeps you safe from any arty fire. Also, playing the heavy tanks maybe around here could be quite good, but you are giving up a lot of map control at that point, which is not ideally what you want to do, but in randoms it's probably the better thing to do, especially if your tanks got really good gun depression. Medium tanks, they usually will fight around here, sort of taking this middle bit, maybe even taking the hill. I very rarely see medium tanks on the 8 line. It's probably not ideal for it. Self-spawning medium tanks, obviously they can go here, they can try to take hill. They can also push up to here, but you've got to be very quick and wary of stuff from the north base shooting across like this. You've got to be careful of stuff from here shooting you as you cross into here. North side medium tanks can take this balcony here. This gives you perfect shots onto enemy heavy tanks here. Also from this position it gives you perfect shots along here. And it also allows you to spot a lot of tank destroyers here if they don't have particularly good camera rating. Also this position here, if you zoom in, there's like a gap here. This gives you perfect shots both to either opposing heavy tank or medium tank, whichever goes down the 8 line. That works for both north and south sides. This position is very good for controlling this area. It doesn't really work in terms of spotting, but if you've got a light tank that knows what it's doing and is making runs underneath the enemy base along here, then it can work out really well. If you want to play medium tanks along here, they've got to be heavily armoured, but I really wouldn't recommend it. Middle is probably the most important position on this map. Light tanks, pretty simple. There they go up here, they can go in a bush here, they can run along here. That applies for the opposite side as well. So they could run down here, they can take a bush here, they can maybe even run into here on both sides. Obviously they can take middle from that side, they can maybe take up just make runs along here, going straight down this line from both sides if you're in a armoured car. Not really worth going down 1-2 line because you know there's going to be heavy tanks down there and there isn't really much places to go. Like I said, light tanks aren't particularly great for this map. Tank destroyers, it's pretty simple. If you're in a heavily armoured tank destroyer, you can take it along with the heavy tanks, like around here or here. Some sneaky tank destroyers could sit here, but usually they sit in base, like here and here. This applies for the opposite side, sit here, here, maybe occasionally there and there. There's quite a nice little position up here for tank destroyers on the south side, and there is also a very nice position for tank destroyers on the north side. If we have a quick look here, there's a little hole down here. That also applies for heavy tanks as well. They can sit there and be a bit of a nuisance if you've got good gun depression or you're just well armoured in general. I usually see tank destroyers also sitting around these positions up north side. That could be quite problematic when you're trying to push into base. Obviously there's like little hold downs along here, and again same with this side, there's hold downs along here that you can sit in. But realistically you want to be keeping your tank destroyers at the front. It's only when they breach a flank that you want to be repositioning. RT, I mean, I guess here people who play RT would know, like if you go here and here, you've got perfect shots like along to these heavy tanks over here, shots along to those heavy tanks over there from north side. You also got shots here, here, occasionally in the middle. But of RT, you want to be mainly focusing on the 1-2 line, as that provides more opportunities. So what happens when you break through a flank? Let's start with the 1-2 line. Let's just get rid of all of these now. It's probably easier if I just clicked undo repeatedly. That's right. So let's start off with 1-2. What happens when you break 1-2 from the north side to start off with? So your team's won this side of the map here. Your team's coming up to this point here and this point here. This area in G1 is a bit of a choke point if they've got tanks here and here. Probably best to push upwards in this situation with tanks with good gun depression. Tanks that have bad gun depression, you want to push lower side. Either way, you are exposing yourself to shots from the base, potential shots from the middle across. It applies again from the south side, attacking north base. You take this area here, tanks can hold this corner. I feel like it's harder to hold north side because this area is quite small, so you can't get as many tanks here. If you're pushing 1-2 line from either side, realistically at the same time, you want to be pushing middle. You at least want to take like under here, so you've got multiple angles of fire on the enemy. Light tanks, obviously you can be making runs underneath the opposing bases here. That will allow you to get pretty easy spots. If you've broken through middle, and this the left or the right side is still indisposed on what they're doing, probably just clear base. Once base is cleared, pick a side which your team needs more help on. I really wouldn't know what to do. After that, I guess you've just got to look at the map at that point. If the enemy are pushing further down 1-2, go reinforce it. Then again, you could always go reinforce 8-9 line at that point. If your team's getting pushed back on the 1-2 line, you clear out this, your team can come back this way, they can continue pushing base. Yeah, that's it really. I don't see anything else you could really do on Abbey. It's all about just reading the map. Take your tanks to the normal positions as was illustrated earlier, and then just try and break through middle. Once you've got middle, it's very easy to push under. You'll take maybe 1 or 2 shots from tank destroyers if they're sat there. Here is a good hold down position. When attacking the north base, you can sit there and you can be a pretty big pain to the enemy. So yeah, that's what you've got to do for that side. Yeah, we will move on to airfield now. Airfield, in my opinion, is a pretty dull map. It's very campy. Heavy tanks go in the usual positions, like around here and here. I occasionally see heavy tanks maybe working these areas here. If they've got good gun depression, but it's very rare because the natural counter to the heavy tanks on either side, this applies for the right hand side as well. They usually go here, maybe here and here with the heavies. The natural counter to those heavy tanks obviously is tank destroyers, which will be stationed here, here, up here, maybe even in base occasionally. North side, again, it's very similar. You've got tank destroyers here, here, and up there. That just sort of means that pushing can be quite difficult. So this map then can rely on medium tanks. And then we've got mediums. Can take up here, that's the wrong side. They usually take the ridges. There isn't really much mediums do. They can occasionally go up here and here. For right side mediums, obviously you've got up there, you've got the middle to play. I've seen this lately a lot, especially in fast, well armoured medium tanks. You can actually make a run all the way along here. I've seen Object 430Us do it. STBs would be good at doing it. Lower tiers, people don't really tend to know about it. What you want to do is you just want to make a quick run from the base all the way down to this corner. In this position here, there's a little ridge that you can use your gun depression on. This gives you shots up to here, and flanking shots here. It's difficult to hold. Obviously, if enemy tanks are taking this ramp here, they can shoot you. You'll get shot in the crossing, maybe once or twice. Obviously, you can get spotted here and shot, and you can't fire back at them if they're using the bushes. So the best thing you want to do is you want to have an allied medium tank or heavy tank sat here, pressuring multiple angles, you want to have this area spotted here, and you want to have a tank here, which gives you a crossfire. Crossfire is very important when taking this side, but it can only be done by south side. It can also be partially countered by tanks up here for the initial spot and then dropping down onto you, but I really wouldn't recommend doing that because that exposes you to fire from tank destroyers and it's a bit iffy clambering down there. Light tanks usually make runs on the middle from both sides. Light tanks can go here, they can go here. There isn't really much that light tanks are able to do on this map. There is a sneaky position which I believe can be used by both sides. So if we do a neutral colour, it's in between these rocks here, but you have to be in an ELC even 90. It's sort of a meme bush, and you're going to need absolute godlike camo to do that, but I really wouldn't recommend it. Tank destroyers also, they can sit here or back here. This gives you good angles of fire across to the heavy tanks if they push from both sides, but again it's very risky. Artillery, just go where if you've got shots here. I know that there is one position literally in this cubby hole here for the right hand side that gives you fantastic shots all the way across to the heavy tanks here, so I'd use that position. But this map, it's not really something I enjoy doing. I'm trying to think. I should probably use the notes that I've made on this map. I think I've put them somewhere. I don't know exactly where they are, but this map, it's interesting because you've got your fight around here that becomes a stalemate. You've got tanks up here and here. You've got a stalemate here, really. It's just a very dull map. It's airfield. It's very campy, especially in randoms, and even more so in clan wars. You just camp, so it's not a particularly good map, but it can be played well. You've just got to rely on there being no artillery to ruin your day. If we move on to Berlin now, one of the newer maps in the game, and one of the maps I really hated at the start when it first came out. Heavy tanks usually will fight along here. I've seen occasional heavy tanks maybe play up here. However, the bridge is pretty much a choke point from either side just because of the way it's set out with, what would you call them? Not bunkers, just like sandbag blockades along here. Obviously, north side or right side heavy tanks will just play along here. Tank destroyers also play like around here, which can shoot you on both sides as well. But the majority of the time, tank destroyers will play along here and along here, so that becomes very campy. Medium tanks, they're an interesting one because they will play mainly along here and here. Occasionally can play town as sort of a supporting role, maybe play here on both sides. I don't really see many medium tanks around this location. I usually see them camping at the back. It's very campy, everything basically south of like that line there, south of the D line. But one position which I'm going to mark in blue is here. This is the most important area, and this is where medium tanks should go. Regardless of the tank you are in, you need to take this position. All of you need to go here because this position is really, really important. What this does is it provides a high risk, high reward opportunity. From this middle position, you get shots to everything along here. You have to angle your tank in such a way that you can get shots outside the bunker, like through the little gap to here. You can shoot this, you can shoot that. From the right hand side base, you can shoot into this window here, you can obviously shoot this all along here. But the most important thing about that middle area is being able to shoot anything that goes along here. It's a very campy map if you don't take the middle. Obviously, you know, you've got your light tanks that will run along here. Well, medium tanks can do it as well, but light tanks usually run along here. Obviously, the other side they'll run along here, situated everywhere really. Well, the main point is you take your light tanks and you sit in a bush here. If you've got a wheeled light tank, you play along here if from both sides. But if you don't do that and you don't get spots on the tank destroyers, you've got to take the middle bit. You've got to stop enemy tanks taking this area here, because once they take that, whilst they don't hold the high ground, it's difficult, because once you're in this position, more so on the right side, you can easily pressure this area. It's very hard for them to poke over, especially if you've still got tanks. Like sat around here, they could just start over pushing this more. But obviously, you know, if you've got tanks in the middle, they're going to be shooting across at this. Now you've also got shots onto the bridge up here. By that point, your heavy tanks can push through. That's sort of the way it goes. I didn't go through this on airfield, so I'll just do it quickly. Basically, once you just push this way, I very rarely see people pushing this up here because of the amount of tank destroyers. You just want to push this. From either side, it's a very difficult map to push just because it's very campy. But Berlin is, you have to win this side. This side you can break as long as you've got middle. You take middle, you win. I think I did this in my CS59 review. Middle is most important. You can rack up so much damage there, but you've got to play it smart. It's very easy to get shot. There are a lot of angles, so you just got to be careful of what you do. Encounter wise on Berlin, basically the same. It's literally just a carbon copy of this. On this side, obviously more people will be going middle. But yeah, I think it's exactly the same. I don't really play encounter all too much. You just take this area here. People go exactly the same place. Just be wary, because more people will go to the middle, and it could be quite dangerous. Just move on to cliff now. Where should we stick our heavy tanks? Well, majority of the time heavy tanks will play around here. You can play around here occasionally. You can also maybe take some heavy tanks along the I don't really see any other way that heavy tanks would play. I don't like playing heavy tanks 1-2. They play around here, obviously. I've put them on the wrong side because I'm really intelligent. Let's get rid of those. Right, so let's put them back on. Yeah, no, wrong side. I'm not thinking about this. There we go. Heavy tanks can go there. Right. So heavy tanks play along here and here. I don't like heavy tanks to go 1-2. It really frustrates me because you've got tank destroyers basically sat at the back. So heavies, you want to be playing here. 9-line heavy tanks, they work well, but the natural counter here for the heavy tanks is the tank destroyers. Tank destroyers will be situated here, 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 here. What else can you do? Tank destroyers can be situated in between the buildings here. There's a lot more cover on this side. Tank destroyers will sit up here. Basically what happens is, if a heavy tank pushes this way, they get a shot. So if it pushes this way, it gets shot. If it pushes the other way, it gets shot. It's very, very campy. It's cliff. Medium tanks, hill. They can go to. They can play ramp. here. They play donut here, which is what we like to call it. They play around here like this. Occasionally not so much on the south side, but basically the way it works, this map, is light tanks usually try and make a mad dash for the hill or the donuts. They usually get up there if they're quick enough. They can occasionally, medium tanks could play 9-line as well, but the heavy tanks usually go brawl that. But there are differences here. Artillery obviously sits in the corners, like around here and here, so watch out for that. But what happens on this map is you push around here at the start and you take this area. RT will shoot you, tank destroyers will shoot you, so you always push onto your side of the donut. Applies for both sides. Obviously, you can't push this area if they've got tank destroyers, but this is important. This is the most important because very few people will actually all push this together. It's not like clan wars. It becomes very campy. People poke out here, they get shot from either side. They push around here, they get shot from the tank destroyers. But there are counters to this, and I'm going to highlight them here. So if we start on the south side, tanks that go here get shots onto the ramp up here. Works out very well for deterring enemy tanks. Always want to shoot the crossing here if an enemy light tank or medium tank gets spotted. From the south side. This also works from the north side, shooting up here. You don't want to push this because the tank destroyers will shoot you. This works on both sides. You take the donuts, you can shoot into the side. You can what can you do? You can't really do much on the south side that's extravagant apart from maybe push into this dip here very quickly, but then again you become very exposed from shots here, you become exposed from heavy tanks here, tank destroyers there. However, north side attacking is different. Once playing north side, what you want to do is, if you're going to take, you can take this position here. This position was recently reworked, and it gives you a good, a little hold down that you can use to shoot people here. You can use to shoot this here if you get spotted. Once again, it's a very linear map. Nothing much can be really done in a sense. There are very, it's this here. You can't push this way. You can't push this way. You can't push this way. You have to take this donut here. That's it really. If you win 1-2 by some miracle, then you push up. If you win this side, you push into the buildings. That works on both sides. You just got to cover yourself from here, cover yourself from here once you're pushing into places. Use these rocks here and here to shield yourself. But that's it really. It's a very basic map. Also watch out from shots from the hill that can go pretty much anywhere once you push in. RT will farm you on the hill, it'll farm the heavy tanks here. So it's just a brawl really. But anyway, let's move on to El Halluf and see if that's a different and more interesting map to play. So moving on to El Halluf, let's start off with the heavy tanks. Pretty simple with the heavy tanks, they will go fight basically here. If you're fast enough you can go here. This applies for both sides as well. Fast heavy tanks can get there. They can occasionally fight on the corner, you've got up here and there. You can also put a heavy tank there. I very rarely see heavy tanks in base unless they completely don't know what they're doing. Medium tanks usually fight alongside the heavy tanks up here. They can occasionally snipe from base 2 along here and along here for the other side. I see more medium tanks playing up here on the north spawn, but that obviously depends on the type of medium tank. Light tanks usually make runs up to the bushes along here, along the middle bit and along here. This applies for the opposite side as well. Light tanks will go there. There's a bush you can use around here for the light tanks, and obviously light tanks will run along here. Some medium tanks and light tanks will just progress straight down and go underneath and up like this. It's very risky, but it's not recommended for south side. But if you spawn north side, you can rush straight down into here, and you can go up this ramp here and then come round, and that gives you a bit more of an angle of attack. It also gives you some spotting. Tank destroyers, they usually sit up here with the medium tanks, like along here, up there. They can sit here and get shots to allied heavy tanks on B2 and B3 if the enemy decides to push over. They can also sit back here in a defensive location. Same with over here, they sit basically just along here. Can occasionally get some there. Some tank destroyers like to sit there to support their medium tanks and heavy tanks along this area if the north side decides to overpush them. And artillery just sits at the back really, usually in the bushes around here or usually behind this rock here, occasionally here to give themselves a bit more of an angle. Artillery should really be focusing on shooting the heavy tanks around this area here, this little triangle. They usually can't hit this from north spawn and can't hit this from south spawn unless they play here. If there's no artillery, you are able to move more tanks into this location here. And same again with the other side along here, because obviously nothing is shooting you if you hold down, aside from enemy tanks, but I just realised on you being able to peek over. That's it really, El Halluf. You don't usually take this middle bit of anything except light tanks and occasionally fast medium tanks. You don't really push aside. You usually win top right. If you win top right side, let's say from north spawn, you'll push down here, you'll push underneath like this, and you'll kill everything that's in base. You can obviously win this side and push up and then push round. It's very rare people actually go underneath from either side, but basically this map it's pretty much symmetrical along this line here, directly across. I don't feel like one side has more of an advantage than the other. Maybe north side is better for defending with places up here you can hide, places up here. But like if you push down this side, you'll get shot by tank destroyers here, you'll get shot by stuff in the middle. Same on this side, if you push down here, you'll get shot by stuff in base, you push down here, you get shot by everything along here. So it's probably one of the more balanced maps in the game. I don't feel like there's one side that has a massive advantage apart from north being able to push up here. But then again, south side can push down into here. If you're really quick, you can push into this gap here. You can maybe go up there, but it's very risky, or you just push into there and shoot stuff in the back. There are bushes you can use. It's a pretty balanced map, and El Halluf encounter is basically the same, except you usually see more people going for the cap circle around here. I wouldn't recommend ever going for that because it's very exposed. Basically once you're in here, you're not getting out. You go into this, it's basically a kill box, this little bowl here. You can obviously try and use the river, but then you've got shots from tank destroyers there. Tanks can come back here. So encounter is basically you play exactly the same as the normal map. What you want to do though, this is highly important, as a light tank on both sides, on both types of map rather, if you go here on either side, spot this area, new players will usually think that going, say from north side, they'll go around here and then they'll either come across like this and go, or they'll go under like this. If you spot this area, tanks that are around here can shoot it, tanks from here can shoot it. I guess that pushing around this way has its benefits as a medium tank, but you've got to do it quickly. But the angle here is quite shallow, so if you're quick enough you should be able to get there unless someone is pre-aimed for that. So always pre-aim for this cross if you're sat up here in a tank destroyer. But it's applicable for south side. Push round like this. Do like a double dog leg thing. Never go this way because you'll just get absolutely splattered across. as you go around here, so always drive this way. That's really the only thing you need to know for Halluf. Just basically play the top 9 squares up here and you'll be good. You need to win this. There is a sneaky little bush actually. It's I can't drag the mouse close enough, but there's a bush around here. I think so, like along here or maybe up here, which the ELC even 90 can use. It's another mean bush. It doesn't really yield much spotting, but if you're in a fast tank, then maybe taking here can be useful, but I really wouldn't recommend it. It's probably not the best idea. Fight on the corner in A1 around here. Basically, it's just an arty death zone from either side. They can get perfect shots onto you, so just watch out for that. If they've got no arty, by all means take that corner and farm everything here by taking this corner here. You stop anything being useful on this side and this side too. Taking this side, as I said, not a good idea. Taking this side, not a good idea. If you can do it later on in the game, take it, because then you get shots into the side here and it basically means you free up any movement to get under. Taking this dip here is useful, but you've got to have a lot of gun depression to do it. Never go around this side, because tanks here can poke and shoot you. A tank here can poke and shoot you. And obviously your allies won't be able to shoot them as effectively because you'll be in the way. So just stay up here, push down to here if you know you have support, but just be careful about it. So let's move on to the tiering system. So let's explain how this works. This one is the balancing tier list. So at the top we have Thanos, for obvious reasons, perfectly balanced as all things should be. Then we've got the M26 Persian, which is pretty average. There are some good points, there are some bad points, but nothing major. Then we have the Object 252U, which is pretty unbalanced. EBR very unbalanced, and Artillery ridiculously unbalanced. It's just stupid. That's sort of how it goes. I mean, you can interpret those as you want to, but basically red is good, green is bad, which makes sense in my mind. So yeah, I mean, I should probably change those around, but oh well, that's what it is. So let's start off with Abbey. Where shall I stick it? I think I will stick Abbey in the pretty average section. I feel like it's got some good points. It's not amazing. I feel like North side is a bit it's a bit difficult to push, especially around here. It's very narrow. There aren't really many opportunities. South side have a better job of defending, a better job of attacking here, but it's not really that much to warrant it being any further lower or any higher. Really, it's a pretty decent map. In terms of balancing, Airfield next. I would say Airfield probably goes in the same area. I feel like around here, like there isn't really anything. This position is quite powerful, but it gets countered by this. Obviously tank destroyers sit up here and snipe. They can also sit here and snipe. Like, they can get further forward from the left hand base than the tank destroyers and stuff can take here, but it isn't as effective. But then again, they have this position. They have this. People have this. It's just it's not a perfect divide straight down the middle. There's more cover around this side for the heavy tanks, but it's not enough to warrant it being ridiculously powerful. Berlin standard battle, I would say, is this is Berlin encounter. Actually says tick Berlin standard battle. I would probably say it's probably perfectly balanced. I feel like it is a straight divide down the middle. There isn't much on either side that's that gives it an unseen advantage, or an obscene advantage rather. I mean, like, you've got the pile of rubble here, but then again there's a pile of rubble here. I guess the bunker being slightly further to this side more to the left gives it a bit of an advantage. Then again, it's negligible at best, the advantage it gives you. I've worked the bunker perfectly from both sides from playing it. I don't feel like it wants that much. I don't think it actually impacts the game all too much. I mean, there's windows here, but obviously there's position here that they can use. So I'd say it's perfectly balanced. And that obviously goes the same for the encounter variant as well. I don't feel like, you know, there isn't anything overpowered, any side that's overpowered on this map. Cliff is an interesting one. I feel that it's pretty balanced. There are good points, there are bad points. Like obviously these positions along here and here, they're pretty similar. Obviously this position here, you can shoot up to here, and this side doesn't have that. But then again, this side has more cover here. I don't know, it's an interesting one because if you start south, you've obviously got more cover pushing around this side than you do if you're north and you push around this side. Then again, north can take this. So actually, I'd probably put that maybe into the unbalanced section, because I feel like south has a pretty big advantage over the north side because they've got more cover along here. They arguably can take this position easier. But then again, north could probably take the donut easier. It's a straighter shot round it. They've got more buildings. But then again, this position can be quite powerful. This the north side has a lower dip in the ramp here. It's very noticeable. Like the south side is higher, so you're exposed more. So I'd probably say it's pretty unbalanced. It needs to be changed a little bit. El Halluf, I actually can't see which one is encounter and which one isn't. I believe that one's encounter. Yes, that one is encounter. So El Halluf, it's a pretty much perfectly balanced map. Actually, no, it's probably average. Like I said, both of them have good and bad points. Like obviously, yeah. Push up to here is easier from north spawn. Pushing down this way is harder from south. But then again, south has a safer route up here than north does. So I'll probably say it's relatively well balanced, but some things could be tweaked to make it better. If we go on to this one now, which is what I think about the maps. We've got good, average, bad, awful, and suicidal. There are no great maps in this game, let's be quite frankly honest. I think we could all agree that the best map in this game was Mittengard. Throwback to that, and that map was in the game, best 1v1 map ever. Abbey, what do I think about it? I think it's pretty bad. I feel like the only tanks that can do well on it are medium tanks and heavy tanks. It's very corridor based, so if you come in a lightly armoured medium tank, you are pretty screwed. Especially since they removed climbs from the game. I feel like it could be opened a lot more, especially on the 9-0 line. Along this area here, like, just you don't need 200 meters of just nothingness on the map. You know, that could be made into a flat land, or like not even a marsh, maybe a marshy area. You know, we could even have like routes going through here that were corridors, but you know, this needs to be more open, I feel. Airfield, it's going on the suicidal. Yes, you can do well in it, but if there's arty, you're not going to have fun. If there's those tank destroyers, you're not going to have fun. If your light tanks die early, you're not going to have fun. And it's very linear. You don't do much. Literally, you go here in tank destroyers and camp. You go here in medium tanks and heavy tanks, die to arty. You go here in heavy tanks, you die to arty. Light tanks, you run along here, you die to everything. You run around here, you die to the heavy tanks. You run up here, you maybe die to stuff. So okay, airfield. Berlin, I would say it's a good map. I really do like Berlin. I don't know why, I just feel in the way I play it, it's very nice in my medium tank to go here. Your heavy tanks can work around here. If you have a lightly armoured heavy tank, you can play it along here, you can play in the middle. even. I just feel there's positions for every tank to go. Light tanks are a bit iffy, but then again, I somehow managed to do more spotting in my light tanks on this map than I did on Prokhorovka when I was doing LT 15. So, you know, I will take that as it is. Cliff, what I say, I'd say Cliff is average. There's nothing much really wrong with it. I feel like I enjoy it a bit. I don't mind playing it. I feel like it's a lovely map for campaign, but in randoms it's decent. There's just really not much to go. El Halluf, I'd say average as well. It's a very well-rounded map. It's fun for all types of tanks. I think there's anything much I would change about it. So yeah, that's how I'm ranking the maps so far. If you did enjoy this first episode, or first video, on the World of Tanks maps from Abbey to El Halluf, please do let me know. Leave a like, obviously subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you all for some more World of Tanks map tactics very soon.